Today in the crypto space, we see the market kind of going sideways. Bitcoin still at about 84,000, Ethereum still hovering around 1,600, and the rest of the crypto space, the altcoins, a mix of green and red. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about one project, one L1 that a lot of people have been looking away from, and that project is called Solana. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunity. Whether we go up or down, bearish, bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 8 p.m. EST, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what's going on here. We can begin by looking at the overall market cap. Today was a bit of a dip. Of course, we got JP coming out with a bit of volatility. Obviously, a bit of blah, blah, blah. Nothing much, nothing major. Inflation, of course, a little bit of inflation given tariffs. And overall, the market is pretty stable and looking okay. So, guys, nothing that we really didn't know. However, the total market cap is currently taking a bit of a hit. What I don't like about it is currently printing a lower high and potentially coming down for another lower low, which means that the total market cap could be rolling over in the immediate short term. We do see the trading volume flatlined after a bit of a dip, so not much trading volume into the market today, yesterday, in the last little while. You can see that. However, could we pick up a bit of that volume on a sell-off? And hopefully not, maybe a bit of a pump, guys. We need to get out of this ranging price action, very boring price action with very little market participation, unfortunately. All right, guys, let's continue. We're going to scrape to the top 100. We'll take a look at Bitcoin as an indicator to see what it's up to, and then we'll take a look at Solana. Solana has been getting a bit of a structure that I'm interested in. And number two, we're seeing Radium looking pretty good. Of course, when we see the DEX do pretty good, it's a good indication that there's online transactions and there could be a bit of interest there within its ecosystem. So we'll take a look at Solana in a second. As we scrape through the top 100, we're going to take a look at, what's really happening here with the market in general. As a sample of the market, the large caps can give us an idea of what's happening here. We do see a few dips, nothing major. Cardano 2.3% to the downside, and that's pretty much, what we see here. About 3% down, 1% up, more or less, and that's the general consensus, as you can see, on those 3%. But one thing that I do want to point out is the structure on the right. 1 hour structure, any lower lows? Not really. We do see ICP in a bigger sell-off in comparison to its market structure. It did make a lower low. So did CRO. We still have Caspa printing higher highs and higher lows, which is pretty good. It's up 15% in the last 7 days, so not bad there. Render looking pretty good as well, although down 2.5%. We're up 10.5% in the last 7 days. Is this just a low before we come up for another high, which could be a lower high? So it could be a bit of an exit pump here before we actually roll over. So make sure you get defensive on any confirmations of a rollover here, guys, because we can see that the total market cap looks a little bit weak. And if you look at Render's price action, it looks very similar. The same with Caspa, looks very similar here. So be careful with that. Filecoin is already rolling over, and we got a few others kind of coming down. Matic as well. Athena has been dipping down 15% in the last 7 days, 4.5% in the last 24 hours, which for me, as an individual that wants a bit of exposure in the stablecoin narrative, I will be buying the dips upon confirmations of a little bit of a bottom, even if it's a small structure. I am slowly building positions in projects that are, geared towards stablecoin. And the reason being is because I don't have much exposure in that narrative. So I want to make sure that my portfolio is well balanced and exposed to all the sub narratives out there in the crypto space, so that obviously if they do well, I have that exposure, right? So we have Sonic holding steady, a lot of projects, even some stable coins based on coins that are issued by exchanges, exchange coins right now like KuCoin doing okay. If you think about it, at least it's going sideways, very nice as a stable coin. And Binance staked so doing pretty good, going sideways. EO's getting a bit of a bounce. So generally speaking, guys, as we scroll, you can see that the market is doing okay, and anything that is pegged to the gold right now is definitely showing tons of strength. And also Curve Dow, guys, it's in the top 100, definitely doing good in the last little while. As I've been mentioning, I am looking for that stable coin narrative, and Curve was one of my picks as well to get that exposure. So Curve Dow is doing pretty good. Guys, at the end of the day, this is the moment where you got to make some critical decisions. Are you going to get risk on? Is it time to deploy a bit of capital just in case we see this market reverse? Guys, I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's begin. Let's begin looking at Bitcoin. What does Bitcoin have to say? As far as a chart goes, guys, nothing has changed. As you can see, Bitcoin is still going sideways within this tiny little range with lots of little candles doing its thing here and hesitating. The question is this distribution? It is accumulation? Is it a quick exchange of hands for a continuation? What are we really doing here? Guys, let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. So as I look at this level, it kind of wants me to think of a distribution. I don't like the sell pressure, obviously, on these candles. If you look on lower time frames, especially if you get lower, you can start to see how it looks. It doesn't look good. However, it still could be an exchange of hands. It could still be a scenario where we do not invalidate the bullish thesis. If we go on lower time frames, you're going to see what I mean here. But before we do that, let's just kind of get what we can out of this daily time frame. We're still in a downtrend. Again, as I've been saying, we did break trend. Who cares? Ultimately, trend lines are, very deceiving. At the end of the day, what you want to pay attention to is market structure. So for me, it's a good sign that we broke trend, but it's not like I'm going to go all in because of a break of a trend. What I want to see is a market structure that suggests pivot, that we're pivoting to the upside with a higher high or a higher low. Did we get that yet? Higher high or a higher low? No, we didn't. So guess what, guys? The only edge that we can get is in most cases, in this case, is to zoom in and get into lower time frames. Right. One of the other things that I'm really concerned about in the immediate short term is the fact that we could be looking for a bearish response, and I'm preparing for that. This right here was a bearish response. We came down, we took a dip. As you can see, we ended that dip right into here as we bounced around. Now, what about now? Right? We can see we're over bottom volatility, and yesterday I did mention that we could do one of these, which could potentially make a higher high and then roll over, right? That's very possible. But as we are right now, regardless, I am worried about getting a full reset of this volatility line coming down to oversold conditions, and that will most likely give us a bearish response and give us a confirmation low, a higher low. That's what I want. If we get a higher low, guys, game on. Completely game on. Ready to go. Deploying fat bags of capital here for a reversal. Invalidation is good. Inverse head and shoulder, whatever you want to call it. Break out the neckline, confirm higher high, game on, change of character in play. But until then, I'm worried about the bearish response. Why is that? Because the bullish response didn't give us a higher high. Okay, that's my major concern, is that the bullish response didn't attempt a change of character or give us the first signals, which is a higher high. So in that case, the trend is still our friend. And unfortunately, we have to be friendly with this downtrend until, we get some indications that it's no longer our friend. Downwards we go, right? We have to understand that. However, guys, this is potentially the beginning of this change of character. And I'm willing to take some risk as long as the risk to reward ratio is favorable. Right now, it's not so much because you're buying into resistance. I understand the bullish thesis, and we're going to talk about the bullish thesis at this level in a second. But the bearish thesis at best case is that we make the higher low. At worst case, we break below this low and come down again. 72, 52, who knows how low we go. We're going to go level to level, guys. Right now, I'm dealing with this. If this becomes a reversal on the daily time frame and we end up breaking and making a higher here, guys, we're doing great. We're going to see a nice pivot to the upside, and I definitely want to catch that. I like the trend oscillator right now. EMA is facing up, green histogram bars. This is why I feel like we're not going to get an absolute bearish response that makes a lower low, because we're also seeing the trend and the divergence on the trend oscillator. Okay. And the momentum of this trend oscillator, which we talked about already, suggests that the EMAs want to get into the bullish control zone. So I'm preparing for that. And you can see these expansions are getting weaker and weaker as the bears attempt to lower lows. So they're showing weakness. So I'm not expecting lower lows here, guys. But of course, guys, we have to have an invalidation of this bullish thesis. And again, it's below 74,000. We break below there, guys, we're done. We're coming down, and who knows how low we go. We just got to be patient. So any entries, have your bearish thesis, your bullish invalidation, be prepared, because again, guys, volatility is meant to take advantage of. Okay, we have to do that. All right, so let's move on from there. Let's kind of quickly get on lower time frames here on Bitcoin, because I think it's more relevant, because right now, really, we're waiting for a lot more data here on the daily to get super bullish, full on bullish. Okay, so if we get on to, let's get on to the 6 hour, the 4 hour. Let's do the 4 hour. It's a more common. As you can see, we're printing lower highs right here. Not a good look. Not something that we want, right? We're making lower highs, lower lows. We're still in a downtrend. This could be a distribution, and I'm going to entertain that, right? We have to understand our invalidation of the bullish thesis. This could be a bull flag. Let's be real about that. It could also be a bull flag. However, the way the candles, the way the sell pressure is at the current moment, it could suggest distribution, and the only way we confirm that is making a lower low. Okay, that's the only way. You break a lower low, guys, we have a volume gap below that can suggest that we start coming down, maybe 79,000, 80,000, maybe even as low as 76,200. Both of these levels, these bottoms, this bottom, all this level, all of these empty volume gaps are emotional zones to see the price get back to a discount, right? And then usually when we talk about discount, we're talking about a 50% retrace. Okay, so for swing low to swing high, coming down to about the 0.5 fib at least, or right around here is a good level, maybe down to the golden pocket, to suggest, you know what, at least I waited for a dip on here to get absolutely bullish. Totally fine. Now, if you are insisting that this becomes a bull flag and we get a continuation, which is still valid, guys, I'm not saying not, I'm just saying that is the thesis on buying the dip. But if you believe in that these impulsive moves are going to continue based on a quick exchange of hands at resistance, because that's what this is looking like right now. The only thing that we want to see is that this quick exchange of hands is not one of which there's more supply than there is demand. If the supply outperforms the demand, guys, we're going to eventually roll over here. But if it's the opposite, where we got a lot of bullish takers, where they're just literally buying the accumulation or buying the distribution, and obviously keeping the price sideways, neutralizing the negative momentum, which it does look like it's doing right now, we could definitely continue. Right? That's possible. So we have to be very clear as what's happening here. If we break below, it's likely that we're going to fall. Okay, we just got to be patient here, because obviously there is some support looking left, and there is the weakness really begins at about $81,606. Above that, we do have some emotional levels that could be protected here. Even if we do dip down, we could still hold and reclaim and still move to the upside eventually, like this. You know, come down, maybe get some support right here, backtest and spring, and keep on going, getting people shooken out. Shaking people out of their positions, especially if they're bullish right now. That would be a scenario and a half, because literally we'll be backtesting this trend line, which is a very retail thing to do. In addition, we'll get a confirmation low, a higher low. In addition, we wouldn't be tracing significantly here. It will probably be a quick 0.382 retracement. If you're using Fibonacci theory, you can see 0.382 more or less, maybe 0.5 fib at max, and then we're off to the races, and here we go. So again, guys, obviously there's a bearish and bullish scenario, but at least you know your invalidation of the bullish, which is that white line, which is this level right here at about $83,136. That is when you're going to have to worry about a complete rollover. And then wait for a nice bottom for oversold conditions on lower time frames. Get onto those lower time frames and see what happens. Right now, the overbought state hasn't been achieved on the 4 hour. We got to be real about that, guys. It hasn't been achieved, which means that the possibility of getting overbought is still there. The risk you take right now getting into a short is that the bullish momentum actually gets oversold here on the 4 hour. Okay, like it has done here. So that's the problem. Look, even this, maybe individuals thought, okay, that's enough. We got overbought. We didn't get overbought. We go for real overbought conditions. So even this, like maybe some people are saying, okay, that's enough. We got enough overbought. I'm going to de-risk. But until we get above the 70% and stay there for a little bit, guys, there's still a possibility that we can retest that level and potentially break out here and then come down and see what we do if we can backtest for support and continue to the upside. Now, the bigger question is, what happens to altcoins in this phase? Now, I just want you to reflect on what happened to altcoins during this moment. A lot of them started pumping. Okay, so that's real. Bitcoin going sideways and people de-risking and allocating capital in other areas of the market where, gains are much, fruitful. That is a very typical thing of a bull run. Okay, when people start to take profit off of their Bitcoin gains and rotate them in altcoins on a consolidation, that's indicative of a bull run and potential altcoin seasons. Now, I'm not going to front run that. I'm not going to say that we are in one, but what I'm saying is that reaction there was very, very similar to what we've experienced in previous cycles. So keep that in mind. Now, if we look at what's happening with Solana, finally, we'll get into Solana. Solana today is up 3%. And now I'm not going to get absolutely bullish here, right? Because ultimately we need a lot more confirmation, but I'm going to begin on the daily here quickly, and I'm going to remove the oscillators here for a second, and I just want to focus on what is really happening big picture. Okay, this sweep down here caused a lot of grief. I could imagine how many individuals put stop losses here, buy orders and stop losses 2% below the horizontal, and this is why a lot of the times market makers tackle that zone just to get people shaken out of their bags, stop loss triggered, liquidations triggered, cause people a little bit of grief, emotional instability. And then all of a sudden it pumps. And then what people start to think is, why didn't I just increase my stop loss? Why didn't I just put it lower? Why didn't I just trade without a stop loss? I would have been in profit right now. They want you to believe that. Why? Because then number one, your next trade, you won't put a stop loss. And number two, they will probably get into a trade right now as a revenge trade. What you got to do is really stay calm here. And this, this V recovery right here, this, fake out, this liquidity hunt, this stop hunt, whatever you want to call it, at the end of the day, it's a shakeout. Basically, V recovery and now being back above the horizontal is a good sign. Now, if we can get a back test confirmation, it's even better. And that would be a good place again to get back in, because you've already had the failed breakdown. Right? After a failed breakdown, we get back above and back test and bounce is actually a best place to get in, because you can put your invalidation right here now, given the fact that market makers already took the liquidity that they were interested in at this level. It's really good. We already got the manipulation already out of our system, and now we can get and resume a typical healthy price action. Okay, we also have to be very clear that Solana is still somewhat in a downtrend right here, as you can see. We did not create a higher high or a higher low yet. None whatsoever. However, we are hesitating very nicely and kind of going sideways. We did break the trend. And I'm going to just say this. This type of scenario right now is evident across all of the market. There's so many charts right now that look very similar to this. And basically, Solana is defending the $120 mark at the current moment. If we can stay here, backtest in spring and close daily candles, which we are, and we have above this zone, which is 120, guys, it's still looking okay, because your risk to reward is super healthy. Now we could identify an opportunity, which is, let the volume profiles, you can see, gets a bit weaker here. A lot less volume above 150-ish. Once we break about 150, we can definitely start expanding. I would say at $165, that is where we could entertain a bit of resistance, given the fact that we have the 200 daily and we introduce a whole new set of emotions and volume right here on this node. Okay, so something to consider. We got tops, bottoms, bottoms. Lots of good confluence here to suggest reaction. So what do we do here? Guys, if you're going to get long, if you're going to get bullish on Solana, just keep in mind that it is at a good place to take a bit of risk, given that we are above resistance and back into support zones once again. Could we reclaim previous price action? Guys, that's the biggest question. Now, if we get onto lower time frames, Obviously, there's a lot of artwork here. Let me get rid of some of it, guys. I just want a cleaner chart. I have something here on the lower time frames that definitely was a bear flag. This is it, and continuation. This is typical. Now, what we want to see is some evidence that this won't happen again. Is this that retracement again, or is it a failed breakdown, like I'm suggesting? And eventually, what we have to do is take some chance, right? We have to, especially when you start to see things like this, right? When we start to see divergences and that kind of thing, especially after we see Bitcoin showing a little bit of strength and obviously waiting for Bitcoin to give us that signal that we are pivoting, we're going to see a lot of the altcoins show a little bit of strength here. Now, if we look into the oscillators, did I take a look? Let's quickly go back to the daily. Sorry, guys, for bouncing around too much. You can see here that the momentum is in an uptrend while the price is in a downtrend. That's Class A bullish divergence right into here, as you can see. Do we have multiple drives of it? As you can see, lower lows and lower highs, 3 lower highs, while we're getting a trend to the upside with regards to momentum. Expansion really big. This expansion is pretty small, meaning that the bears do not have as much strength as they did before, which is a good signal. I'm worried about the bearish response, the same like Bitcoin. But look at these EMAs, guys. Look at the 3 drives of Class A bullish divergence on the trend oscillator. Look at the expansions getting smaller. Look at the fact that the EMAs is trekking to the bullish control zone above 0. This is why I am paying attention to these areas, because if we eventually turn bullish on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, and this and that, guys, we're going to start to see pivot point structures and overall sentiment with regards to momentum and trend push to the upside, and that's going to give you the edge, right? We have to look for an edge to try to stay one step ahead here. Now, we also, again, you might hear the bullishness in my voice here, but I have that invalidation very close by, right? Very clear. Now, on the 4-hour, this is what another thing that I'm concerned about is, look, we could definitely go for another attempt for a higher high. The only thing is that I am expecting, if that happens, that we get divergence. So what I'm saying is that we can break structure, make a higher high, but still maintain a lower high on momentum. And that would give us a Class A bearish divergence here, right? Look at the volatility right now. It's pushing up on the 4-hour, which means that we're in a bullish scenario right now. And if we make a higher high with a lower high on the momentum, that's Class A bearish divergence. I wouldn't be getting into fresh longs. Absolutely not. EMAs are facing down, red histogram bars right now. I would like to see a fresh long on this, the continuation down on the daily, to see the daily get its reset, because I have a feeling we're going to come down at least 50% of the way of this bottom down here, and to get into a discount zone where we can get in from a position of strength rather than buying this potential distribution. Now, like Bitcoin, it could be invalidated here, guys. We could definitely break out to the upside, but once it starts to break, we can get squeezes out of all of these levels. And like I mentioned before, based on volume, there's a lot of weak spots above that could allow the price to expand further than we would ever expect. Okay, so this is the issue here, guys. It's not the best moments for entries, but I could expect a continuation to the upside on the lower time frames. The daily is perfect. The daily is a scenario where, guys, DCAing on spot is going to be your best friend. And if we end up doing that, getting that reversal, guys, we can see Solana back to previous highs in no time. And that's the thing. And we're not even looking at, big picture where Solana came from. Now, of course, a lot of us are going to say Solana will never get back to its previous high, guys. I don't believe that. I don't believe that whatsoever. The market has short-term memory loss. The fact that we associate Solana with memes is unfortunate and uncalled for, in my opinion. It didn't choose to be the choice of meme coins. The L1 or the chain for meme coin didn't choose that status. And its tech is still equally as good as it was before, right? Nothing has changed. Meme coins did not change the L1. So we have to understand that the tech is still there. If you like the tech a year ago, you'll like the tech today. Nothing has changed. The only difference is that you're buying it at a discount. And pretty much big picture, it retraced 50%. So here we are, guys. What are you going to do about it? Buy the dip, accumulate, and see this thing reverse? Or just wait to see further confirmations, risking the possibility that, you might miss out. And for me, that's very painful. I'd rather have a bit of exposure and prepare for the worst, and just in case, and obviously hope for the best by having a little bit of a allocation that I could definitely capitalize off of if we continue to the upside and use this as support. Guys, we're back above the level that we're interested in, which is the $120 zone. Guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor, slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join the Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.